Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey announcing a new set of safety reforms for assisted living residences today.
It follows July's deadly fire at the Gabriel House assisted living facility in Fall River, which killed 10 people and injured more than 30. It's the Bay State's greatest loss of life in more than 4 decades. Survivors filed a civil lawsuit weeks after the tragedy, alleging there was no emergency preparedness plan in place and fire drills were never conducted. It also states sprinklers and fire pumps were not working, and oversized air conditioners blocked windows used as emergency exits. We also know 70 residents were living in the facility, with only 2 staff members working the night of the fire.
The governor immediately began a review of all 272 assisted living residences in the state, ordering them to complete a fire and life safety self-assessment survey and submit their disaster and emergency preparedness plans. After meeting over a dozen times, the commission in charge of that review issued its final report with these recommendations. They include having stronger fire and emergency protocols in place. A new statewide online database is also being created to give families clearer access to compliance records, ownership information, and corrective action plans.
There will also be new staffing and leadership requirements and new assessments, making sure each resident gets what they need. Lastly, a new task force will examine ways to make care more affordable for low and middle income older adults.